Cool. All right, Anna, are you ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's talk about Tableau Conference-ish.
Let's talk about it.
This was the first virtual conference I've ever attended. This year has been full of them. So my recommendation to everyone was as well as Tableau pulled this off, I feel free to complain about any of it so we don't go full virtual for the rest of the years, because I do miss regular Tableau conference, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Totally with you.
There were a lot of different ways to meet up with people virtually, and it felt like, honestly, it felt like we were together in a way. We had brain dates, we had community conversations and Zoom and in other platforms while we watched conference. Did you watch any with anyone? Did you watch any of the sessions while you were on Zoom with other people?
We did. The Iron Viz was our big one. So I think there may even be a picture of well, I don't know if it was any of these, but yeah, we did the Iron Viz kind of together and kind of talking through it while we were watching everybody go. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, we had a group, and actually there's a session that we recommend in here in the slides, and I'll talk about it later, but there was a group of us watching the session with the people who actually did the session and talking through it, which was real fun because a lot of the sessions were pre-recorded, obviously. And it made it even more interesting because we could ask questions real time. Hey, well, why did you do this? So that was fun. It made it different, but it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a couple of things that we have traditionally done. We did a devotion each morning, which is something we've done in the past. So that was kind of cool to get together with some folks there. And I know you did a couple happy hour type of things. I think you were part of the Iron Viz kind of watching party. I think there were about 75 people kind of all doing the Iron Viz watch party, which was, that was kind of fun. So the comments were fun and hilarious and cheering for different people and so forth. So, and I did I think I did a brain date, which was cool. Got to connect with somebody I'd never met about doing some HR analytics. So hopefully that was helpful to them. But there were brain dates you did that were super fun?
Yeah, there were some just great conversations, helping each other out through our processes too, because we're all working on some project, usually having to do with Tableau. I instruct Tableau, but I also work on some projects here and there, and getting to sit down and have these conversations, you hear where other people's pain points are and where they found the strategies to relieve them. And, oh, hey, that's a great idea. I can apply it to this. So not only was it a way to connect and have community, but you can take what you got in conversation and in sessions and just immediately apply it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things, in addition to all the community stuff and being with people that everybody loves about Tableau Conference are the keynotes and in particular devs on stage. Devs on stage is a big one because you get to kind of see what's in the roadmap that Tableau's going to be releasing. What can you kind of get excited about? What's that feature that you've been wanting for the past 6 years that is now definitely going to happen? I can remember in the past hearing about things like Vision tooltips and kind of wondering when that was going to come to fruition, and things like dynamic parameters and all those different things in the middle of devs on stage. And so hopefully many of you got to watch it, but for those of you who have not seen things, so the new world was called Devs at Desks instead of Devs on Stage. So they kind of had some fun with that. Talked about a number of things that were really pretty interesting. So just want to talk through a handful of those, give you a heads up, show you a couple of videos, just kind of quick clips on some of the things that they were talking about that we felt like were really interesting. But the first one to kind of talk about here is just the ability for Tableau to engage with kind of webhooks and stuff like that into the places that you're already getting your messaging. So things like Slack, I imagine Microsoft Teams and stuff like that will be kind of in the making.
Alexa.
But yeah, Alexa will be awesome, right? Alexa, good morning, Nelson. Your Tableau dashboard has filled up.
They demoed one with Alexa at one point. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I look forward to Ask Data through Alexa. I think that's been built, but it's all hacky. But anyway, I'll be looking forward to that one when that shows up. So, but the Slack integration and the ability for people to really just be, for the analytics to be in your workflow. I think that's the biggest piece now, is that we want the data to kind of find us at just the right moment. And so, in the places that we already are, rather than having to go to the data, you kind of think that the two terms that we talk about here are push versus pull. So if I have to go to it, I have to kind of pull it to me. It's kind of, I'm taking an action to go get the information, so I'm pulling the insight to me. In this case, what's happening here is conceptually, Tableau is going to push me an insight in an automated way, or I can kind of even engage it and kind of ask about, hey, what's the answer to this? So excited to see kind of where they take this. I think this will be an exciting direction, and certainly one that is, I think bigger things are coming. So another one that, another one that is really interesting is the ability to start to create things called collections. So this is just kind of say, hey, maybe it's in a couple of different workbooks, but there's a number I need for this meeting, and like I've got this meeting where we walk through a bunch of different things, and it's in this workbook, and there's two things from this workbook, and there's one metric from over here, and there's a data source over here. And I don't necessarily want to go get screenshots. I want those things to kind of update. But conceptually speaking, I want to kind of have it all in one place. And so I was excited to see that this kind of finally has come to fruition, and the term they're using for it is called a collection.
And Nelson, I asked you this offline, but I thought I'd ask this for everybody. I said, what do you think this means for a network, or a Tableau administrator? Like extra work? Is this going to be harder on them? What do you think?
Yeah, I think in the short term, I think this is great. I think I think the long term, and I'll jump to the next one too, Anna, because I think they're kind of tied together.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
With collections and personal spaces, where I think this is all going is that I can envision in some number of years, I kind of said, 3, 4, 5 years, that Tableau Desktop could disappear. I'm not saying it will, and that certainly, Francois didn't tell me that by any stretch, but I'm thinking that in the long term, one of the big points that they made about what's going on right now is that they're finally getting to almost basically full parity. So if you can do it in Tableau Desktop, you can now do it on in the web authoring on Tableau Server. Everything including Tableau Prep and stuff like that. And so where I think this is all going is, if I'm going to do all of my development potentially up on Tableau Server, Tableau Online, I need a place where I can kind of house stuff that's not ready for prime time, right? The stuff that I'm developing and so forth. So you get things like personal spaces, you get things like collections, where it's like, hey, I myself get to kind of pick the content. It's the Tableau Server administrator kind of is going to focus on things that are going to be more production, and I'm going to focus on things that are more just kind of dev or test in my own way. And so I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. And then again, even in the same way, things that, one thing that they landed already in the newest version of Tableau Server is shared with me. So it's like in the same way that if I get a PowerPoint, this PowerPoint is one that we share with each other, right? So I can kind of go and say, hey, where are the PowerPoints that have been shared with me? And it's kind of a separate thing that Microsoft has. It's like, hey, here are the ones that have been shared with you. These are the vizzes or the metrics or whatever it's like that have been shared with you, and they're kind of ordered chronologically. You can kind of pin different things and stuff like that. So it makes it so that if somebody shares something with you, it kind of becomes its own little spot that you can kind of jump to really rapidly. So
I love that, because you're not now digging through emails and trying, where is that thing? I know I saw this one thing somewhere. Who sent that to me? This is fantastic. It's almost like a Pinterest board.
Yeah. And so I'm pumped about this, because I definitely see all these things are leading in a direction where more and more and more development is going to occur online. And let's think about that too, right? Directionally, what we see from the data is that more and more of the data is going to be online. You think about things like Snowflake and kind of cloud data warehouses and stuff like that. That's going to become much more common. We're already seeing a migration from a lot of certainly the big organizations here in Atlanta, going from kind of having something on premise to many of them kind of making the choice to put the data up into a public cloud, whether that be AWS, Azure, Google, Snowflake, etc. So the data is already in the cloud. So if the data is already in the cloud that I need to work with, then why not let's do the development in the cloud as well, right? So again, I'm not saying that's happening tomorrow, but I do see a direction here that I think Tableau is very keen to. And I think they're making a good move. Yep. And I mean, Salesforce being one of the very first and strongest, frankly, cloud platforms that's out there, this direction makes a ton of sense.
It does.
So,
it does.
Yeah.
Whether or not we like it.
Exactly. Right. I think there's definitely use cases for Tableau Desktop existing for a long time. But, it may not be, it may not exist forever. That's one of those things that we'll continue to keep an eye on.
I keep thinking about developing when I'm on an airplane. Like, what am I going to do if it's in the cloud? I mean, I like my desktop because it's nice and right here, and I don't have to deal with Wi-Fi. And so that's always my argument right there.
Nathan said, "Amen, Anna." Yeah, I think the counter argument there is
down and your power is out, you can still Tableau until your
heart's content.
Your laptop dies.
Yeah, I mean, you still have an option, I'm sure, to be able to take extracts, right? So, but yeah, it would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating. I don't know, because as soon as I said extract, I was like, well, that would mean it would be on my computer, but then the cloud couldn't see it.
Still needs the development,
so, exactly. So I don't have the development arm at that point. Yeah, so interesting, very, very interesting. So this is happening. Another thing that they talked about was autosave. So
I love that you added this first.
Right. Well, so the prepper here is for the longest time, and I think everybody probably remembers, if you've been around Tableau for a while, you remember the many days and years that Tableau did not have autosave. And I remember when I was about a week into working at my previous consulting firm, I had done a bunch of work, and then Tableau crashed and I lost all of it. And I literally was just like, I'm never going to let this happen again, right? Period, in the story. And so over the next day or two, I think I came up with a way to do autosave by using auto hotkey that would basically press Control S every 2 minutes or something like that, whatever I set it to, as long as Tableau was the window that was open. So in the same way, again, because if everything goes onto the web, you need the same thing. Maybe you close the window accidentally, right? That would be terrible. Or your browser shuts down or something like that. You need to have that autosave, right? So one of the things that we heard from Ellie was that you're going to have this functionality. So I'm going to play this for everybody real quick.
Now I also need to make a few quick changes to this very popular, already published dashboard. One last change, I'm going to add marks to labels, one of the great new analytical features we added last year, and it looks great. It looks perfect. It's exactly the way I want. Oops, I accidentally closed the tab and I've lost all my work. That's the worst. But if this happens to you, never fear, we've got you. We're adding autosave to Tableau. If I refresh the page, I'll now see draft. I can go back to where I was or discard the changes. Autosave in Tableau, because we all deserve a second chance.
There you go.
A complete end-to-end browser experience requires advanced analytical features like.
All right, so excited about that. Again, I think as there's more and more things happening that are going to happen in the web experience.
Actions and sets.
There we go. I think that'll be really, really big. So again, I think the goal is just a true parity of what you have in the desktop experience coming to the web. So just excited about all that. Okay, a couple more that we were particularly pumped about. So one of the things that I know from you mentioned kind of the administration side. When we think about doing Tableau development and kind of working with governance and the data admin teams at a lot of organizations, they're like, all right, talk about row level security. And it's like, well, so Tableau's got it. There's a couple of tricky things, and you kind of explain some of those things. What I think is exciting here is that, now you can publish a data source, and at the data source level, the data governance team can control that row level security piece. And so you don't have to make sure, hey, did you do it all the right way? Did you make sure you did all the permissioning the right way and stuff like that? This seems like it's going to be a much more robust way of doing row level security on different data sources. And I know there's a ton of organizations out there that have kind of come up with different hacks where they're doing SQL injection, doing live queries against their database so that they can get the row level security that they want. But I'm excited about this because I think this will be super helpful. It definitely makes Tableau more robust. If you can't see that particularly well, these are the types of ways that you can go about it. So you have the ability to understand, the different tables that you're looking at and the different ways that you would kind of classify those tables and stuff like that. And so you can kind of call, name different fields in different ways so that the alignment will work well. And so, again, excited about that. Is member of looks like it's still going to be string literals, but things like full name can be dynamic. So, so that should work well. So excited about that. Cool. All right. Another one from a data governance perspective is data quality warnings. And again, I think this is one where the enterprise data governance teams at a lot of organizations are going to be super pumped because more and more we're seeing that organizations are leveraging things like data catalogs. You're leveraging things like Tableau data catalog, Tableau catalog. And so, it gives you a sense of, hey, we expected this table to update, that didn't happen. And so you need to know that this data is stale. But unless you're doing something very special in order to plan for that, it's tough to convey that information to the end user. And so one of the things I'm excited about is to see how Tableau is doing a bunch more integration with things like Elation, things like Ultrix Connect and stuff like that. And then, Tableau Prep with Prep Conductor and so forth. All those different tools have the ability to integrate into the Tableau data management add-in. And so you get these data quality warnings. And I think this is super helpful for, especially if you're making kind of key decisions off of data. You want to be able to have confidence that the data is going to be fresh and accurate and so forth. So I'll show you guys this one as well.
Introducing automated data quality warnings. Let me show you. At the top of the Tableau catalog, I can go ahead and add a refresh monitor. We'll select Prep Flow Monitoring, select the type of data quality warning, and paste in the message I'd like my users to see. And now when this flow fails, a data quality warning will be generated automatically. Just like everything else in the catalog, these automatically generated data quality warnings flow all the way to Vizes and dashboards so all users can see them. For example, take a look at...
Real quick, I just want to point out one of the things that I think is cool is, go away, sorry. So if you look over here, you can see this table actually feeds 93 different workbooks. And I think that's the power of this. So if this table goes down, you want to be able to scale the notification of that to all those different workbooks. So I'm gonna hit play, you guys can see that.
So all users can see them.
Here.
For example, take a look at this dashboard. Here is the data quality warning that tells me there's a problem I need to pay attention to. And from data details, we can see the warning. It's an extract refresh warning. With features like automated data quality warnings, Tableau Catalog embeds trust and visibility into every layer, making data management easier than ever. But there's another element to trust. Sensitive data is everywhere.
All right. Boom. So a bunch of really good stuff in that data governance space. So super excited about all those different pieces. A couple other ones I thought were really good, and I'll go quick as we go through the last few of these. But Tableau Prep coming to the browser again. I think the goal is to get to full parity in here. Obviously, the immediate question is like, well, what do I do if I've got like an Excel file or a CSV or something like that that's on my laptop, I believe you'll just kind of be able to drag and drop that onto the screen, and that'll become a data source for you. So, so some really cool stuff happening there for sure. And then the ability to write back to different databases, I think, has shown up as well. And then map layers was a really cool one too. I, for one, have had multiple use cases where I needed like 3, 4, 5 layers on the mapping side. And of course, you can only do kind of a dual access to this point, right?
Mhm.
But Tableau has now given us the ability to add layer after layer after layer in the geospatial analysis space. And I think that's going to be phenomenal. So check this out.
Now, when I'm not looking at avocado prices, I inspect the local housing market, since my lease is up this coming April. Here's a map of Seattle, broken down by zip code and colored by average monthly rent. I want to bring in more information into this view, but layering multiple location data is not possible in Tableau. Until today, introducing map layers. You can now layer as many geometries as you want in the same view. I cannot wait to show you. Let's bring in house locations to see some of the properties I'm interested in. I'll drag the pill in the view and see a brand new layer drop zone. I release my pill and boom, Tableau just created 2 layers, each with their own marks cards. Now let's disaggregate by address, change our mark type, change our color, our border, and our size. And you know what? Let's also rename our layer, easily enough. Now adding a 3rd layer is drag and drop easy. And as a proper Seattleite, I cannot pick a home without considering proximity to coffee. So let's bring in store ID and coffee shop locations into the view, change our mark type, color, and resize. Just like that, we build a map with 3 layers. The rainy Seattle sky's the limit. Now, map layers are not only easily additive, but also intuitively configurable. For instance, interacting with marks across layers can be very distracting. But with map layers, we can disable selection with this new option. Now, the zip code layer is static, yet it continues to update as I change encodings directly from the marks card. And check this out. Currently, coffee shop locations are layered on top of house marks and hide some houses near downtown. Well, map layers can fix this too. We can now reorder our layers and bring coffee shops down. Now, watch the viz as I release. Here we go. Everything is now in place and clearly visible. But wait a minute. I want to get the most bang for my buck. So I want to compare individual home prices to zip code averages. Now this requires level of detail expressions, also known as LODs.
So as he was about to get to, there's a new easy LOD calculation, and Anna, you and I were chatting about this one too. It seems like kind of by default what it's going to do is a fixed LOD calc. But definitely check it out. It's going to be interesting to see, if LODs are something that you haven't really approached in the past. This will definitely help you get started. I think it's a
what
good
it looks
starting
like
point.
Definitely a good starting point. You still have to know what you're calculating, especially with reference to which LOD you need. Like you said, it looks like it's a fixed, but it sets up the syntax for you, and you control select the dimensions and the measure you want. So then automatically you can choose your LOD. But it is one of those things you still need to know what you're calculating and what aggregation as well. So
yeah,
it's not going to read your mind.
One day.
Maybe.
All right. Maybe. Scary, right? And the last one I think we're going to talk about is just, there's a big shift to the web. We already talked about that. The other big shift, I think, is just the embrace, obviously, Tableau being bought by Salesforce back in June of 2019. you can see a ton of integration that's now happened. So things like Einstein Analytics, getting brought into Tableau, being able to do a bunch of modeling and stuff like that, kind of codeless and whatnot. Similar to the way that you can do things with TabPy and R, you can begin to leverage Einstein Analytics to do different predictions and modeling and forecasting and whatnot.
Now, if you know me, you know I'm always hesitant with these predictive models. And, we're not working with clean data. We're dealing with sample sizes too small. So, of course, I'm going to be a little apprehensive.
Yeah.
But I would say, though, this is, in my opinion, this is how Salesforce is actually trying to get their consumers, the people that already consume Salesforce, to come over to the Tableau side. I think this is their way of opening that door to Tableau for their Salesforce customers, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. And I think it's, it'll be interesting to see as people start to actually use it, what the feedback is, how good it is. I think the one thing to be cognizant of for all of us is we start talking about doing analytic models and predictions and whatnot. Typically, you have to structure the data in some very specific ways in order to create the test that you want to create for the analytic model. If it gives you some feedback, but it's not applicable and it doesn't apply to the way that you can actually implement something, then the insight's not very valuable. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I did go and pull this information because, one of those questions like, wow, that sounds cool. How much is that going to cost? And so the prediction piece, on top of the Salesforce stuff that you've got is kind of a $75 a month. And then full Tableau CRM goes up to $150 per month per user. So not cheap, but, there's a ton of value in your data. Could be very, very useful. So excited to see whoever gets to start building on that. So now everybody's favorite.
Yeah, this is the big part. This is the exciting part.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. So this is where the energy is. If you've ever been to Tableau Conference too, you go in there and it's like this big stage. It's dark. They're flashing lights. People have glow sticks. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. I can't even describe. And so they did it, obviously, in our conference-ish. It was online, but they still did a great job creating the suspense that we have when they're creating these visualizations. Now, we probably should explain this because I would assume a lot of people here don't know what Iron Viz really is. I mean, if you've seen Iron Chef, you can kind of get an idea. But, I know that we have folks here that are listening who have seen this in person, but there's probably people who are going, what's Iron Viz? Explain it to me. Because my first time at conference, I was saying the same thing. Everyone keeps talking about Iron Viz, but nobody explained to me. So correct me if I'm wrong, Nelson. Pretty much they all get a data set and they have a certain amount of time to figure out what questions they want to answer and the story they want to tell in this data set. At conference, I believe they get it on Monday, and honestly, I think they're working the whole time during conference in set times to try to figure out what they're going to do. I don't know how it works this time, but when we actually watch Iron Viz, they already have worked out in their head what they're going to do. They have 20 minutes to build it. Yep. And because they have 20 minutes to build it, when you watch this, you see some of the craziest shortcuts you've never seen before. Like, wait, you can do that in Tableau? Wait, what? Nelson, like last year, was it Lindsay Poulter who was dragging and dropping her calculations right into pills? I mean, it was
exactly
that. So you could watch them do this, and of course you can go online and see the whole thing. But all the suspense, I'm hoping I'm creating the same feeling of suspense right now while I'm talking about it, because I still haven't told you who won. So we're watching this, and then they go to each person, and each person describes and explains. We should have pulled a video for a couple of these because they were great, but y'all can go online and see this. And they tell what the story is and what they were looking at. And what I loved about this year is in most years they all have a different story, but these seem like three completely different stories using the same data about air quality. Well, needless to say, I don't know, do you want to tell them who won? I mean, it is a friend of ATUG that won, and I saw him on here a second ago. I don't see his name on the list anymore.
Do you see him?
Yeah, he's not on right now, but he was earlier. And you wanna.
So yeah.
Who won?
Congratulations to Mr. Christian Felix. for the air we
Christian,
breathe.
We were, that it was incredible too. I loved his explanation and where he was going with it and how he came up with his story. They do judge on not just obviously a beautiful visualization, but the story behind it and the analytics piece as well, and how well you can analyze the data to tell the story. So
absolutely,
it was incredible.
Yep, I think Tableau did a great job kind of making lemonade out of lemons with Iron Viz. If you've ever seen Iron Chef, at 1 a.m. in the morning on the Food Network, same concept there. That's the I think the genesis of Iron Viz. But Anna, why don't you talk us through a couple of these other tips?
Oh yeah, so a couple recommendations. We had a few of these that we wanted to tell you all about. Speed tipping is always great. There's 2 sets of speed tips for this year, so you can go online and see these. And this year it was Jeffrey Schaefer and Lorna Brown, and they're both Zen Masters, and there are some incredible tips, things that you're like, Tableau, what? I didn't know you could do that. So I chose just one clip here that I thought it's not a typical Tableau tip. Okay, you're not usually going to see a Tableau tip that looks like a Nintendo hack from the 90s, like where that was it up, up, down, down, left, right. That's what this looks like. But I thought I'd share this to everyone and go, so you can just have your mind blown too. I just started laughing, like, I can't believe you can do this in Tableau. But if anyone's ever had that issue, and I think we all have, where you're trying to get rid of the ABCs in the column, you just want a blank column. And there's, he actually gave, before this particular tip, 8 other examples of things, hacks, so you can get rid of that column, or at least blank it out. This one took the cake. So if you want to roll it.
I don't really know what to call this. This is, a cheat code in Tableau, or, I don't know, a kill code in a video game or something, but I'm going to use the control key to size the column. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to size this ABC column out 3 times. 1, 2, 3. We're going to make it really big by doing that 3 times out. Then we're going to drag the size of the column to be as narrow as possible. And then I'm going to control key left arrow to make it smaller 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the column is gone. No ABC column. It's not there. You can't select the marks, and you just have a normal 2-column view here. If you want to get that back, that's very important, because you can't right click, and you can't. There's no column to make wider. You're going to go to Format, and down under Format, you're going to go down to Cell Size, and your cell size, click on Text Cell, and it will set all of your cells back, and you have your default back to your ABC. I have a blog post on how to do this, and it has a bunch of check marks for you to tell you what works and what doesn't work. So be sure to check out this blog post for further information on these techniques.
God bless.
When I teach
Jeffrey
Tableau,
Schaefer.
that's one question that always comes up. People always want to do that because I think a lot of people just want to build text tables in Tableau. I mean, it just happens. So I get that question a lot, and I can't wait to show this one to somebody, and they're going to go, wait, what?
That was awesome.
We also had, and we need to get to the next part here, so let's go through this faster. So we had a great conversation here. We listened to, and you can go find this session with Chantilly Jagannath. She's a Zen Master, and she also runs Millennials and Data. And she had this conversation with Wade Davis, who's the VP of Inclusion at Netflix, about diversity in data. So working with people within the organization and using, including that conversation of diversity. This was the session I was alluding to earlier. That was a fantastic session about looking at the dashboard, but it was pre-recorded. So we got to sit in a Zoom session, a few of us with, there was like about 6 or 5 of us in there with Katie and Mark when they went through this. And we're going, wait. That was really cool. This session is fantastic. Because why this session for me was important. It wasn't just how to build a dashboard. It's Mark's ability to ask questions and how he took the data he looked at and he goes, well, let me ask the next question to get to the next answer in the dashboard. And that's really what a lot of data is, right? Is how do you ask the right question? And so this was a fantastic session on not just building a dashboard, but how to use the dashboard to answer the questions that people have top of mind.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think Katie, this looks familiar from some of the stuff that Katie showed us, I think a few months back. So yet another friend of the ATUG family. So excited about that.
Oh yeah, Katie is phenomenal. And then we talked earlier about Ben Jones. He's going to be here next month. Well, here virtually. Ben is the owner and CEO of dataliteracy.com. He left Tableau and opened up data literacy because it's a passion of his heart. And he's written books on data literacy, and he does a great job of explaining, and not, he doesn't make it over your head. He really simplifies the process of understanding how to really read and interpret charts. And so this was a great session that actually ended with, and you can flip to the next slide, which after that session, they had a panel discussing data literacy in different parts of an organization, which include a data culture. And so this was a great setup for Tableau as they're going into this next important part of their journey into data literacy, because Tableau is now, and you can switch to the next slide there, Tableau is now offering, and I'm pulling up my data literacy for all. And data literacy for all, you can go online and you have e-learning for your introduction to just like, hey, what's some functional data literacy I need, to those statistical analysis pieces. People are always, I have a background with statistics, and people are always asking me, okay, like when do I use this and this? It does a great job of explaining what each piece is for and simplifying it, and then bringing it back to reading charts and using relevant data. They go all the way to understanding distributions, variation, which understanding variation, of course, is key for understanding statistics and just reading data and interpret it. And then they get into some like correlation and relationships. So if you are interested in pursuing a culture of data literacy, this is a great jumping off point for either you or your team to just go find this e-learning. And I'm going to put into the chat this link here. So I get excited about data literacy if you didn't notice.
Yeah, I think the conference, I think, we kind of said it was solid. I think they did a great job with what they had to do. Obviously, nobody's preferred method of going through it, but I think there were some really great parts. One of the coolest things that I think we saw was the Tableau public Viz gallery. So this is still out there. Really encourage y'all to check out vizgallery.tableaupublic.com. You actually got a sense that you could be literally walking around in this virtual room and seeing, I think there are like 41 different visualizations from different Tableau public authors.
And the music made you just feel, you could feel emotion when you're looking at it. They also did a good job of including a lot of female authors. If you notice that, it was a great way of bringing in more of a female touch to some of these that we normally see a lot of males in the data community. So I thought that he did a good job.
There you go. Awesome. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, your Tableau conference-ish recap. So anything you saw today that you want more information on, just go hit the Google and see what's going on. Tons and tons of good stuff out there. All those sessions will be up on the internet forever.